Now, more Burkinabes are trooping into Ghana to seek refuge following attacks on their communities by armed insurgent groups. Last week, hundreds of them arrived in the Pusiga district of the Upper East region, weeks after deserting their own communities, which they say were attacked by people believed to be members of an armed militant group. The arrival of these refugees is raising security, health, and even food security concerns in that part of the Upper East region, where some of them are reconnecting with their kinsmen in Ghana. Correspondent Albert Sorry reports.
Sad, dejected, and looking very exhausted. These are people from Tarim Nwaga, a community somewhere in the south of Burkina Faso. They are here in Ghana at the Yarga No. 2 community in Pusiga in the Upper East region, seeking refuge. They say a few weeks ago, their community was attacked by armed men believed to be members of an insurgent militant group. At least 5 people were killed and the rest of them had to run for their lives. Although it is not clear which armed militant group attacked the community, Osmani Sebgo, one of the refugees, calls them Boko Haram.
We were there at Taramnaga. These Boko Haram people came there and told us that they want us to leave the place. We thought they were joking. For some number of days they came back, and when they came, they succeeded killing about 5 people in our presence, slaughtered them. And when they did that, it now tells us that everybody should run away. So we have to run away. We escaped from Taramnaga in our community, and we went to Sanga. And when we went to Sanga, we got to Sanga and realized that that place too is not safe, because they are coming there threatening the people that they will kill them. So we have nothing to do than to escape to Ghana, where some of our relatives are. So when we came to Yarga No. 2, then we came and met our people, and they gave us a place to stay.
Some of the refugees arrived 2 weeks ago, and others followed later. An estimated 1,500 of them are currently in various parts of the Pusiga district. A lot of them are women and children, even toddlers as young as 8 months old.
As we
are here, we didn't come with anything. And we are here, the people are helping us, and we are also helping ourselves small, and that's how we live. Nobody comes here to support us. Our people, even that we left there, we don't even know what is happening there. We want food for our children and ourselves, and look at the small children that are here, no school.
At the Yarga No. 2 community, where many of the refugees first arrived, the Ghanaians here are finding it difficult to give them shelter, let alone food. Here is the chief of the community.
With your small family, at least 10 people in the family, and about 40 or 50 people come to add you. How are you going to feed them? Even you with your 10 people, it gets to some time that you have to buy and add. And now another people have come to join you. How are you going to manage it? So as for the food situation, it's an issue to them.
Some of the refugees have kinsmen resident here at Yarga No. 2 and other parts of Pusiga. So it is more like tracing their roots back home. Therefore, the Ghanaians feel they must find a way to accommodate them. One of the men providing shelter for these refugees is Issa Zakari, who says he accommodates 12 of them in this small room.
It's our people, and they migrated and they came. And because of that, this house, for instance, is much that as you move from this house to my new house and then leave this one for the refugees to also settle. This room has been accommodated 12 people, and this other room too is accommodating 11 people there, and then this other room too is also accommodating about 14 people there. They normally sleep here. After sleeping, then they will go outside and struggle and see whether they also get food, their daily bread, and support themselves. Because we, the landlords, we cannot support them 100% because for now our food self is not sufficient for my family members.
This old woman is one of the refugees being sheltered in Zachary's home.
It's our auntie. She's too old. She's about 120 years. When it happens to the children, have no any place to go with her, so they have to move with her and also come to the family house. So we have nothing to do than to also collect her and accommodate her.
The community members of Yarga No. 2 are worried that the influx of these refugees could have serious health implications because this dilapidated building here is what serves as a CHIPS center. There are no health officials stationed here. At the time of our visit, there was no known record of a health screening exercise for the refugees. In other places such as Pulmakum, Zong Natinga, and Wedana, all in the Pusiga district, hundreds of refugees could be seen. The Ghanaians in these parts are mainly peasant farmers, some of whom have had to give out their lands to those of the refugees who are their relatives. Sali Abugurago is a farmer at Wedana who now barely has any land left for his farming activities this rainy season.
I had one in my house. He came with 5 wives, with 21 children. Luckily, when he came, I had rooms and I was able to give them 5 rooms. And up to now, they are still in my house. Being a former assembly member, when they get to the checkpoint, they will mention my name. And the immigration officers will call me. I will go and identify them. Some are in my family houses, some are filling stations, some don't have food. We are getting pressure. Even they are looking for land to farm. Somebody called me and said, oh, his family came to his house, so he needs the land. And I offer for them about 3 places. So this year, I don't have a farm to farm self.
The Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana was forced to visit the Pusiga district after its members here reported a possible food shortage crisis in these parts due to the influx of the Burkinabe refugees. Dr. Charles Nyaba is the executive director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana.
When it rained and they were preparing to farm, they realized that apart from just supporting them or sharing their food with them, they need to also share their lands with them, share their inputs with them. And the pressure was mounting on the secretariat that how can we help our own members? So it is the reason I decided to come here myself to see what's happening. So for us, it's a serious problem that we think that is beyond our handling as Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. This area is one of the food baskets of Upper East. They produce all kinds of crops, ranging from sorghum, soybeans, maize. Here's the case, they will not be able to do that because of these pressures. So we are here to appeal to the whole country, the NGO development partners, the government, to see how best we can allocate some resources to support these immigrants and then to also support our own farmers to be able to produce.
Reports indicate that more of these refugees could arrive in the Upper East region in the coming weeks or even days. Reporting for Joy News, Albert Sorry, Pusiga.
Now joining us at the back of the story via Zoom is Dr. Victor Doke, lecturer in conflict, peace and security at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Doc, grateful that you could join us here. First of all, what do you make of this trend of more Burkinabes moving into Ghana?
Well, thank you very much, Kojo. What I make of it is in due course or in the near future, we're going to have what we call the humanitarian crisis in our hands. Now, when you look at the report, the women and children having been hosted in houses, this is particularly not right, especially when you have the women and children outnumbering the men. There needs to be a centralized place, or what we call an area where you can host these asylum seekers coming in, because then you're going to have more coming in the future. then you can have systems in place. Now, this is a time all stakeholders need to come together and then put in mechanisms, identify them as they come in, and then go on a comprehensive sensitization and education within the whole community via radio or whatever means they would, announce to the general public in those communities that anytime they take in or see these kind of situations with regards to asylum seekers coming in, they should prompt the authorities. The authorities will now go where they are, pick them up, and then have a place where to keep all these people coming in. Then you can have a proper system when it comes to record keeping. You know the number of youth in there, the women and the children, the vulnerable. Then you can plan. As it is now, there is no system in place. So all of them are scattered. Some are in relatives' homes or wherever. Now, how do you plan effectively to even have humanitarian assistance for these people, especially the women and children, let alone talk about the security aspect?
So how can we then ensure that some of these violent extremists do not sneak into the country through, coming in as asylum seekers?
Well, what we need to do is, now, the stakeholders need to come on board as it is now. The Ghana Refugee Board. You're talking about security agencies, the intelligence bureaus, get them involved, the local NGOs there. Now, the UN agencies are also there, particularly United Nations High Commission for Refugees and other UN agencies that would assist. Now, all these stakeholders need to come together. The focal lead, of course, is the Ghana Refugee Board, who would have technical capacity or backstopping from these agencies that have been mentioned. Now, you have a system in place, what we call the screening. The screening entails you picking these people up as when they come in, identifying the route where they are coming through. Then that way you can have personnel stationed there. As and when they come, you pick them up, take them to a centralized place, a camp or whatever you call it. Now you go through record taking. So you can know the number of children, women, the youth, and let's not forget, the youths are the ones who partake in these extremist activities. So you need to know the number of them. Now, record or data has shown that the women now have also been involved in violent extremist activities. They serve as intelligence sources for these violent groups. They smuggle in weapons through whatever routes they find necessary. Records are there, and field data also provides evidence to that effect. We need to have this system in place. Other than that, then you will see these kind of groups coming in, tripling in with the excuse that their communities have been attacked there, and then we would have some sort of chaos in our hands. Humanitarian rights. You look at the community, you have to prevent the conflict between the host community and these asylum seekers. Now, from the report, it's no food there. That tells you a lot.
Doc, stay on the line for me, because a report commissioned by the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, is questioning the effectiveness of government's key anti-terrorism initiative to get public support to fight threat. The report, titled Vulnerability Assessment on the Threat of Violent Extremism and Radicalization in Northern Regions in Ghana, reviews communities most at risk in the northern part of the country remain unaware of the See Something, Say Something initiative. We'll be getting details of the report shortly. But first, speaking at the just-ended Counter-Terrorism Week event at the United Nations headquarters, Minister for National Security Albert Kandapa said some countries in West Africa have been caught off guard by the terrorists.
The reality is that many African countries, particularly those in West Africa, least expected that the threat profile in the region would evolve in a manner where terrorism would emerge as the foremost threat to statehood. As a result, little efforts were made to invest in building the right kind of resilience that is needed to prevent the spread of terrorism. And so as the menace continues to spread from the Sahel region to coastal West Africa, I must say that a number of countries in the region have been caught off guard. We are now racing against time to simultaneously enhance our military capability and invest in non-kinetic interventions, mainly along border communities considered to be vulnerable to radicalization and terrorist infiltration.
He says a recent report has confirmed West Africa, which includes Ghana, as the hotbed of terrorism in the world.
Important to improve upon the governance of the various countries. We need to have more democratic forms of governance. We need to improve upon inclusivity in the governance of the country. We need to ensure that civil societies are given a role to play in the governance of the country, and above all, that the accountability mechanisms that exist in the various countries are also made to work such that the governments of their respective countries can be held to account. I think, ladies and gentlemen, we have very limited time to act. The atrocities unfolding in the Sahel region and West Africa reveal the sheer scale of threat confronting us. The release of the recent edition of the Global Terrorism Index confirmed the West African region as the hotbed of terrorism in the whole world. According to the index, 4 out of the top 10 countries highly affected by terrorism are located in West Africa.